I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, November the 3rd, brought to you in part by Ever Ag Insurance Services. They've got agents all across the country, licensed in 44 states. They've got all kinds of ag insurance services there, including your livestock risk protection that we talk about all the time, and I think is a very important thing that you guys need to be learning about. They've got the pasture, forage, and range protection there, and dairy revenue protection. But get a free LRP calculator. Just get a hold of them there, and you can search them out at ever.ag. 130 or bust, and we've been looking for 130 cash live fats here all year long, and it's just a significant hurdle that we'd love to get over. It's a glass ceiling that we can look up and we can see, but we can't seem to get to. It's a threshold, and when you get to some of those prices, and you know, I think you know, like $2 a pound on a 500-pound steer, you know, $1.30 on a fat steer heifer there. It's just a significant place, and it seems like whenever you start getting over it, then it just falls in like the walls at Alamo or something. But we're right at the cusp, guys. We're right here. In fact, I don't know why they didn't get much trade confirmed on Tuesday in your negotiated areas there with USDA. There was trade out there, but one of the only ones that they got confirmed was your traditional Tuesday traders in Nebraska, and they indeed got 130. Now, it was delivered now, so most of the time we consider FOB, free on board, or picked up your price that everything's established on. But they've been selling delivered, and they sold cattle at 130 delivered. Well, that's pretty close, but it's not there yet. And in fact, most of the guys up in that part of the country know where those cattle are coming from and where they're going. Said it won't cost either side of $1 to deliver them, so that's getting awfully close. But it's still not 130. We need 130 as the definite price, the predominant price for live FOB fat steers and heifers in your 5-area feeding region. We're getting closer all the time, and pretty much everybody that hasn't already sold is priced at 130. They're digging in. Now, we got some weak sisters and some people that fell for 128 on Tuesday because it was more than what they were getting last week, and significantly more. But most everybody else, and especially those guys that have those really, really nice cattle, the cattle are going to grade predominantly choice with the rest of them prime, you know, they feel pretty comfortable priced at 130. And I heard one cattle feeder say, we just need to let these packers get used to hearing that, you know, priced at 130 or above. And it'll just subconsciously start to settle in on them, and they'll get to the point where 130 won't sound quite so bad to them. But we definitely need to get that. I think we could get that. You know, I was saying before, you know, I was doubting it through the summer, you know, when we kind of fell off of our ladder. But I think we'll for sure get 130 significantly before the end of the year. I think we could get it, you know, either this week or next week, and most other people kind of do too. In your auctions, they're getting over 130 just, you know, just all the time. But, you know, we don't sell enough cattle at auction. I realize we can't run, you know, hundreds of thousands of cattle through an auction, but you could pull out a sampling of some of your best cattle and send them to auction, you know, anytime you want, and if they're in loose hands there. And I think you'd kind of like it, because they're getting big prices in your auctions. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But I want to say congratulations to Virginia. It looks like they've elected a conservative governor. It's the first major election we've had since Mr. Magoo took the presidency, and it just goes to show you, when you take a fairly liberal blue state like that and completely turn it around, everybody, it's the first opportunity that people have gotten to really voice their opinion that this deal ain't working at all. And good job to Southwest Virginia. I got lots of friends in Southwest Virginia. That whole strip right there was glowing red. So Butch Foster and all the guys down there, they had everybody lined in there right and dialed in to vote the right way. But that was a big statement that happened on Tuesday night there. And one thing that was scary is they had a lot of mail-in ballots that they hadn't counted yet. Starting to get deja vu on that, if you guys know what I mean. But let's look at your board for Tuesday. December live cattle up $1.10 at 129.95. Kind of just bounced right back from what we saw early in the week. February up $1.32 at 135.22. You go on your back months on your live cattle, up 95 to up 197. So big gains there, and totally recovering what we'd lost to start the week out. And then your feeder cattle did the same thing. And the reason that your feeder cattle went down so much on Monday, it wasn't necessarily because Dustin Smith had went long the futures, but it was because the grains keep rearing their ugly head, and they had jumped up there. Grains are just going to kind of be high, guys. We got to find a cheaper way to feed these cattle because they're just tied to a commodity product, and our inflation has gone up so much. And traders tie corn to ethanol, and fuel's getting so high and everything that it's going to kind of bounce up there all the time. Well, it bounced up there, feeder cattle went down, took the fats with them a little bit, but then they came back, and they're going to yo-yo like crazy, and feeder cattle are going to whip flash at the end of that, just like the snapper on a whip, because there's just not much trade in your feeder cattle futures. There's nobody investing in it from outside the industry much, and just it's such a shallow pool. It doesn't take anything for your feeder cattle to whip back and forth. People shouldn't even pay that much attention to what your feeder cattle are trading unless you've already sold your cattle basis and you're looking to pick your day. And that sounds like kind of a crazy way to sell your cattle right now with no more trade than we have in your feeder cattle contracts. But November feeder cattle up 317 at 157.57, so gaining that back. January was up 430. Glad to see that. 157.02. Go on your back months, and they were all up big, from $3.40 to $4.40. So that was good to see. Corn was down 6 cents on Tuesday at $5.73 a bushel. Kansas City wheat down 7 to 8 cents. So it kind of backed up too. But my gosh, all these grains are looking pretty high to me. How about your fat cattle trade? I mentioned that we didn't have much confirmed trade, but there were sure rumors and confirmed rumors of trade. But your packers just aren't in a big hurry to get them put in to mandatory price reporting these days. It's like they don't want to follow any of the rules, and they damn sure don't want minimum negotiated cash to become mandated. But gosh, would I love to see that, and you guys would too. How about Iowa? Less than 100 head confirmed, and no cattle that we can really call the market on. Nebraska had 1,100 head there, and that was those to traditional Tuesday traders at 130 delivered. But there was trade in Nebraska at 128. Some of them said they were even hauling those cattle south, which surprises me. But they need some of those better grading cattle down into those southern plants. It's not so much just the sheer volume, but they need some of the really high quality cattle down in the south, and it's basically because your big corporate feeders that totally dominate the southern plains, they're not in the business of feeding cattle to inefficient levels like your farmer feeders are, and some of your family feeding operations that like to feed for really high quality. Your corporate feeders, they feed till they start losing their efficiency, and then they shuck them. Well, you have to really make those cattle obese to get them to the grade levels that we've gotten used to through the pandemic when we were slowed down and all that kind of thing. And your packers really like those kind of cattle. They just don't want to pay any more for them. But Kansas and Texas didn't quote any trade, even though I know there was trade in Kansas at 128, which is higher, guys. I mean, we're glad to get higher, but you know, we'd like for them to hold out a little bit longer than selling on a Tuesday when we know how short bought your packers are and how tight the supplies of really good market-ready cattle are. Look at some of your sale barns that sell fat cattle. Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota, $2 higher there. The conventional cattle are just their commodity cattle, although they'd be high in quality, but no bells or whistles, bringing 126.5 to 130. Bing, there's your 130. Just wish we could get that to be your predominant price FOB in the country. But one thing that's interesting there, your non-implanted or drug-free fat cattle that you know, your packers are saying that they want, and they're trying to encourage people to raise, they don't want to give any more for those. So they brought about the same, 126.5 to 131. Now we saw big premiums for those back this summer when our fat cattle market was struggling, but now that it's starting to get up there a little bit and the margins are tightening ever so slightly, even though your packers are still making huge profits on cattle, they don't want to give any more for them. So that's about there's the deal on you guys that you know, want to do that value-based marketing. Packers don't want to give any more for the cattle whenever, you know, the market gets up there a little bit. But extreme tops on some smaller deals of 134.50. Got to give a shout out to John Shaven up there at Dunlap Livestock Auction, friend of mine and a big Iowa State fan, and I always get a kick out of his post because he's such a big fan of Iowa State Cyclones up there. But $6 to $7 higher and Dunlap on their fat cattle auction on a lighter volume, but they had some really impressive quotes there. The bulk of their fat cattle bring from 123.25 to 134.75. And then had a couple or a stick out consignment there, some steers and heifers both. Some 1,528 pound steers bring 137.50, and some heifers weigh just short of 1,300 pounds bring 137.50. Sell cattle at auction, guys. That's where you find out what they'll bring. How about box beef cutout values? You know, they're down a little bit on the choice and up a little bit, kind of mixed on your select, but you know, we're sitting at an all-time record level for any time in a November month because we haven't had a big black swan in November. But 287.38 on choice cuts, that's down 20 cents. Selects 266.13, up 174. Slaughters running right on pace with last week and a year ago at 243,000. May not have quite as big a kill as we did last week, but it'll still be awful good. Let's talk about what else is going on. Your Beaver Red Angus fall production sale, the Beaver Fever, they call it, fall production sale is coming up here right away, guys. Sounded like a long ways off when we were talking about it before. Now it's coming up right away. It's November the 11th here next week at 1 o'clock Central. It's going to be at the ranch near Leola, South Dakota, but you can view and bid right there on dvauction.com. And if you want to look at the videos on all the cattle that are going to be on there, you can either go to dvauction.com and look at their online catalog, or you can go to beaverredangus.com and check those videos out there. Some really nice genetics from some of your best Red Angus cattle that you can find anywhere. But it's going to be a big sale. Going to have 50 registered coming 2-year-old Red Angus bulls on there, 100 registered bred cows, about 60 registered bred heifers, and then several deals of commercial bred heifers. So don't forget about that sale, beaverredangus.com. I'm going to be heading up to Texhoma, Oklahoma. My friend Ashley Nolan running that sale up there. He's got his Customer Appreciation Day at Texhoma Livestock Exchange. Said he's got several deals of yearlings on there, several load lots of yearlings. Going to have plenty of nice calves there. And also got one deal of replacement quality 9-weight red Angus heifers there, and you just don't see those guys. So I'm going to go up there and help him sell a little bit there and check out that sale. But let's talk about your feeder cattle auction, your feeder cattle market for Tuesday. Real-time index on DV auction set at 154.25. That was down $1.15 late in the day on Tuesday. Look at some of your high volume sales where we can get a dependable trend there. How about Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri, 2,600 head there, and your market was kind of unevenly steady, and it was mostly just calves right in there. And that's kind of what your market is, unevenly steady around so far this week. How about Philip Livestock Auction? Philip the Giant, 6,200 head there on their big sale on Tuesday, and it was a little bit unevenly steady. Actually, it's the best 5-weight steer calf market that we've seen for a week or so, because we'd lost some ground on your board and different things, and people kind of eased off of them. The truck shortage, just the sheer numbers of them moving had kind of backed it up a little bit, but they had some of the highest quotes on 5-weight steer calves that I've seen all fall. Right there at Philip. But look at your automated market report from Cattle Market Central there through DV auction. Look at your best tested weights, and they were lighter weight calves there for the most part. 2,027 head of 5-weight steers, average 559 at 180.98. That was $1 higher than last week, with all those 5-weight calves moving up there in the northern plains. Pretty impressive. 1,012 head of 6-weight steer calves, average 644 pounds with a weighted average price of $165.97. Now that was about $5 off from last week. 506 head of 4-weight heifer calves, average 464 with a weighted average price of $164.60, and that was about steady with last week. 941 head of your 5-weight heifer calves, average 547 at $156.90. That was about $5 or $6 cheaper on the weighted average there, but your weighted average weights on them and your 6-weight steers that I told you about were pretty well in there, so that could be responsible for part of that. But the outstanding quote that I saw from Philip was 102 head, 501 pound steers. Got a 5 as a front figure there, bring 203.50, and we just haven't seen a whole lot of that in the last week or so. How about some other quotes from around the circuit? Lone Star Stockyards, right out here at Wildorado, Texas, just west of Amarillo. They had a big sale on Tuesday, and a big time quote. We don't get the big time quotes down here, we're on I-40, and actually Lone Star Stockyards is south of I-40. I could just about throw a rock how far south they are of I-40, but they are south of I-40. But 229 head of steers Bill Martin sold there. They weighed 681. Local cattle bring 159.50. That's a big time quote down here, guys. How about Bluegrass Stockyards, Lexington, Kentucky? 250 head, one whack through the new facility there, Lexington, Kentucky. 803 pound steers bring 157.90. How about Rezac Livestock Commission? Now that's up there just north of I-70. So that I-70 is what I consider the border between northern plains and the southern plains. So they're up there, where they can get the sweet spot on there. But Denny Rezac Livestock Commission sold 129 steers, weighed 888 at 160.35. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Zach Tran top quote for the day, come back down here close to the southern plains, Beaver County Stockyards, Beaver, Oklahoma. Now don't get that mixed up with the yellow brick road up there on Highway 20 in Nebraska. They're off of Highway 412 in Oklahoma, and it's quite a bit rougher and not quite as pretty to drive on. But all the way down there, they can sell them, boys. And they had their Customer Appreciation Day. Had my friend Clay Myers there, auctioneer, and he was doing a hell of a good job. Didn't make it up there, but I did watch him online for a while. But look at this in Beaver, Oklahoma, 58 head, 907 pound steers, bring 158.85. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.